Story 1. Narcissism, not being polite to service workers, pets, or kids. You don't have to like kids, but you can be nice to them. I remember going into a pizza shop for lunch one day, and the pizza was one of the best I had ever tried, but I never went back because as I was paying, the manager came out and screamed at the much older employee who served me. He used very degrading words, and the older man shrank back in fear of him. It put a terrible taste in my mouth, and while I'm not sure of the circumstances, it certainly didn't warrant him being such an ass, especially not in front of a customer. Be kind to those you work with, or you'll find yourself running a shop alone. Story 2. Underestimating the significance of small emotional moments. If you do not know why emotional bids matter in a relationship, whether friendly or romantic, then that is pretty sad. It is those little moments adding up that mean the world. Story 3. Lack of integrity. It is not that hard to be honest and respectful of others. Lack of kindness. It is usually coupled with main character vibes where everything is happening to them, and people are attacking them, and they did nothing to deserve their place in life. Yeah, I will pass. Story 4. How you treat other people, whether they are service workers, strangers on the street, or friends, can make or break my opinion of someone. Especially on the first few dates, if you treat a waiter rudely, it's a red flag. Story 5. That right-wing crazy stuff turns me right off, as does being mean-spirited or cruel to retail and hospitality workers. The first time I ever saw Carrie Lake, the crazy Arizona Make America Great Again politician, I thought, oh, she's got the attractive vibe going on. Then she started talking, and I was like, no, no, no. It sometimes happens with local people I interact with in real life. Really cute, great fashion, attractive physical traits like a big butt and belly or whatever else. But if they are mean to restaurant workers or grocery store checkout people, or if they start talking that crazy fascist stuff, I'm out. Instant turnoff. Story 6. Complete lack of effort all around. At the very least, you should clean up. Dress in a basic and clean manner. Express some kind of interest in something and be kind. The bar is really low, and somehow people don't pass it. Story 7. Fear and anger. I'm not saying that people with anger issues or anxiety are unattractive, but the expression of those states is likely to repel people. Story 8.1. Putting others, especially retail or restaurant industry workers, down. 2. Not liking dogs. 3. Lying big or small. 4. Comparing themselves to the same-sex counterpart, like comparing yourself as a woman to another woman in public. 5. Profusely swearing. Story 9. Oh, I have a little list for you. Being disrespectful. Complaining about the small and unnecessary things. Manipulating. Lying. A history of infidelity. Talks a lot about their exes. Expects you to do anything and everything. Lazy. I'm not talking about won't clean kind of lazy. I'm talking about won't do absolutely anything for anyone. That's all I can think of. But this is just my personal no-go list. Story 10. I'm a very happy, smiley person who jokes around a lot, and I can't handle people who take themselves super seriously and never smile or joke around. Story 11. Overrating your attractiveness. I've never been so turned off by a woman than the one who was average in looks but thought she was a supermodel. Story 12. A short temper or getting upset over the smallest things. Like if the person at the drive-thru isn't super cheerful, so what? They could have just dealt with a difficult person and aren't feeling it. Not everything has to be a big, dramatic issue. Just relax a little bit and try to see other people's perspectives too. Story 13. Acting as if everyone wants to have relations with you. In my town, some of my peers act as if all men are creeps because they are just too attractive. They also demand special treatment. Story 14. Negative people. Those who complain constantly and always have an excuse as to why they cannot take good advice or fix their situation. It is like they enjoy wallowing in self-pity and thrive on trying to get others to feel sorry for them. They want to attract those whose solution is to offer up good vibes and dislike those who offer logical solutions. Or those who are toxic and hateful all the time. My dad and mother and brother are like this all the time on both accounts. It is exhausting. My kids and I had to move 4 hours away from the family so we can just chill in peace. Somehow, we ended up as the find a solution type despite the rest of our family. Story 15. Being mean, cheating, lying, lack of integrity, lack of ambition, lack of generosity, selfishness. I don't know, there's a whole list of things I could come up with, but this is at the top. Story 16. Strong opinions. Most of us are not experts in anything. If you have a lot of strong opinions, you are pretty unlikely to be open-minded and may come across as a difficult person. Story 17. Being a pick-me. Yes, you can say amazingly and are pretty, but if I compliment you, say thank you and be gracious. Nothing makes someone instantly unattractive like not graciously accepting a compliment. Story 18. I think what makes a person truly unattractive is negativity and how they treat others. You can be the most physically beautiful person in the room, but if you constantly complain, criticize, or belittle others, it's a huge turnoff. Story 19. In my controversial and unpopular opinion, tattoos. I like a couple of them, but each one makes a person less and less attractive to me. No shade on it, my wife has a lot of them. Clearly, they aren't a deal breaker or anything. It's just that, in my opinion, she'd be a lot more attractive if she didn't have them, or at least had fewer of them. Story 20. This sounds dumb, but if they are too tall. I am a shorter guy, and a girl could be gorgeous by every measure. But if they are a good bit taller than me, something inside me just says, nope, it won't work. Of course, I spent most of my life complaining that most girls do not date men shorter than they are. Story 21. Being toxic, which includes insulting you and not caring about what they say or do to or with you, and smoking drugs, cigarettes, and electronic vaporizers, as well as using drugs in general. Story 22. Two things. When you give someone a compliment and they cannot accept it. When the genuine things they do with their personality and life are not consistent. Story 23. Hey, check out this new dating and matchmaking service. Story 24. Smoking. Yelling your point because you think you're smarter than someone else. Did I say smoking? Bad breath. Crust of any kind. Eye, side of mouth. Dried wiped snot. Story 25. Bad personality for me, hands down. I've seen girls that are 6s with great personalities, and it elevates them to about an 8.5 to 9. Then I've seen girls that are a 9 who have poor personalities, and that drops them down to about a 5. Story 26. When a person talks negatively about others behind their backs, but you witness them acting all friendly and fake in front of the same people they were criticizing. Story 27. Deformed face with a hooked nose and warts with hair growing out of them. Hunched over posture with a hump on their back. Gnarly yellow teeth. A huge gut. Story 28. Definitely if they do not think before they speak and say stupid things. Coming off as obnoxious, which is what most of us Americans do daily, and being conceited and close-minded. Story 29. I dated someone who had a superiority complex towards me about a year into the relationship. Literally just out of the blue. It was great up until the constant comments responding to me about how they did better, more, or had it worse than everything I said. That was a really tough run I went on this morning. I am surprised I did more than 3 kilometers. I was so tired. Followed by, I did 5 kilometers last week. That's tougher. And I found it easy. That was extremely unattractive and got old real fast. Story 30. Cheating, lying, gaslighting, manipulation, and being rude to hospitality workers. The saying, I'm not rude, I'm just blunt. No, there's a difference. Also, closed-mindedness and not being able to listen to any differing opinions. Also, complaining about how horrible your life is and not doing anything to actively try and change it. I understand if it's things out of your control and you try to be the best version of yourself, but people who sit around and complain just upset me. Story 31. I lose interest when there is no conversation. You try to have a topic and the person responds with, nice, good, etc., and doesn't even try to continue the conversation. I understand that there are people who have difficulty, but if the person writes, how are you? At least answer, everything is good. And you? But what if I'm busy? Just say, I'm fine, and you? You can talk. I'm a little busy right now. When I have some time, I'll respond, or simply respond later. When we are interested, we create a topic about rain being wet, and the other person will reciprocate. But if you don't even try to keep the subject, I believe you have no interest, in my view, of what the person demonstrates by not keeping the subject. Story 32. You could be the most conventionally attractive person in the world, and if you do not know how to carry a conversation or are just boring, I have zero interest. I would rather be alone with myself. Story 33. Unpopular opinion. Tattoos and smoking both just scream low class to me. Sorry, I know many of you have tattoos. I'm from a different generation. Back then, you got a tattoo if you were in prison or possibly in the Navy. Exceptions were made for rock stars and prostitutes. And if you smoke, well, then you just are low class. No apologies for that one. Don't worry, I keep this to myself. But you asked. Story 34. Willful ignorance. Not simple ignorance. Everyone is ignorant of plenty of stuff, and that's okay. It's the refusal to be educated or corrected that's unattractive. Arrogance. Dishonesty. Stubborn self-centeredness. A refusal to admit when they are wrong. Pride in bigotry. Lack of willingness to self-reflect. Unwavering hypocrisy. Story 35. I am not rude to service workers, but I will say something if they are being rude or condescending. I usually let it slide since I know how the kitchen can get. Story 36. Being immature and always just seeing things at surface level. No self-consciousness at all. It's like their brains haven't unlocked that extra layer that allows them to examine their own thoughts. Story 37. People who go out to eat with someone else but are on their phone the whole time. Like, why bother coming out then? This is true of anyone, not just in romance. Story 38. I would say a person who is unable and unwilling to connect with you on a level that is important to you. That's a rarity. It shows genuine respect for one another, and not just in a performative way, but a sincere desire to understand who the other person is. Sure, you can say and do all the right things, look like the perfect partner, but we forget that we all have many layers. And love takes a willingness to delve into each layer as time progresses and the human body and mind evolve with priorities, perspectives, and desires reflecting changes alongside it. Adapting and thriving, basically being present and interactive. Story 39. A woman smoking cigarettes or doing drugs in general, and not maintaining herself, hygiene, looks, mentally, just shows she has little to no self-awareness. Story 40. When I see them acting differently around their friends, it is troubling. They might be the sweetest person ever, but as soon as they are around their friends, they make jokes objectifying women. It is gross and feels like they are putting on a performance or something. Just because I am a girl who is kind of masculine, that does not mean I like that kind of behavior. Story 41. Apathy, cruelty, and pessimism. I hate people who are negative and self-deprecating. I was once that way, so I know how easy it is to be negative, but I can't stand it anymore. Body odor, obviously, and also visible plaque on teeth. Bad hygiene in general will make you unattractive. Story 42. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Being not in education, employment, or training is the most unattractive quality a person can have. This excludes people who are in between jobs or recently got fired. As long as they're planning to get a job again, it's all good. But nobody likes a lazy, good-for-nothing mooch who brings nothing to the table. Story 43. Many good answers. But I am going to go more broadly with drama. I cannot stand women who are into drama or causing drama. I do not mean the theatrical kind. This includes many of the other negative attributes listed in other comments. I put a lot of effort into maintaining a life as free of nonsense as I can achieve. I acknowledge that some level of drama is inherent to life, but I do not go seeking it. I resent when someone else's petty actions bring unnecessary drama into my life. Story 44. Lying, doing things for other people's approval, thinking they are cooler than you, having no real goals, no passion for anything, no motivation, poor hygiene, a dry sense of humor, and unable to hold a conversation without making it about themselves or sex. Story 45. When a woman calls her vagina her coochie. Anytime I've ever heard an attractive woman call her vagina her coochie, I've just been instantly and revoltingly turned off. Story 46. Narcissism. Entitlement. Really just thinking they are better than everybody else, especially when they go around telling everybody else how they're supposed to be. Story 47. And I swear a lot, but there are basic decency aspects when it comes to swearing. I tend to use swear words as filler words and verbs or when quoting someone else, including singing. So when I hear someone describe more than one person with a highly offensive term or simply being downright negative and surrounding all their negativity with cursing, it really makes me wonder if I want a pleasantry like that in my life. Story 48. Not accepting their mistakes and always being the victim in every situation. Showing yourself as someone pitiable. Acting like you know everything and everyone else is an idiot. These are the worst type of people. Pathological liars. Story 49. Hygiene. I wouldn't touch the hottest person in the world if they don't wash their hands well. Stuff like getting in bed with day clothes on is an absolute deal breaker too. I'm not a hygiene freak. I've cleaned toilets, dishes, and raked horse manure for work. But it seems like the most basic effort you should take as a civilized human being. Story 50. The situation or context makes a person attractive or unattractive. That's why some couples are wildly attracted to each other at one point in time and then completely disgusted with each other and split at another. The people may not have changed, but the situation and context, the environment, did. Story 51. Who jokes about one's insecurities even after being told not to? Or being really rude for no reason, and later on just laughing it off as if it's something they should be proud of? Also, when they are being very boastful in situations where it's not even needed. To be honest, if you're good at something or whatever, you should definitely boast about it, not like it's something bad. But there's always a time and place for anything and everything. Acting all high and mighty for no reason is so weird, in my opinion. There was this guy I was into, but he constantly talked about the wealth his family had acquired over the years. And it was so annoying. Like, I get it, but whenever we talked over a call, that's all he could talk about. He would later on tell me, people think I'm very boastful, but you see, I'm not. This is what I get and have, so I don't know why people think that way about me. Do you think the same? I would lie because, of course, but I guess I get it. It's okay, and he was overall a good guy. He had even achieved quite a lot as an independent guy without the help of his family. So I always liked that part and never felt he was being too much.